All right, everyone. How are you? How are you doing? Good? That's great. Welcome to this week's episode of our podcast. It's called Is Breakfast Included? Thanks for stopping by. On the show this week, we sit down with 3-time Grammy-nominated artist Pat Green. Yep, Pat stopped by, talked with me and Lisa, told us a little bit about his history, a little bit about our history. For those who don't listen when I talk, and I do talk a lot, Pat gave me my start in this business. And by doing that, I'm where I am today. I've done all the cool things I've done, traveled the world because Pat took a chance on little old me. Anyway, he talked a little bit about his art, his music, told some great stories, and we had a good time. We laughed a lot. I hope you enjoy it, man. Let's check it out. All right, man. Tell everyone, for those who don't know, who you are.
Hi, everybody. I am Pat Green. I am the illegitimate son of Jimmy Buffett and Jerry Jeff Walker. That's what it looks like from my standpoint. And 3-time Grammy loser. I lost one Grammy to Johnny Cash, and he was dead when he won it. So I can't even beat dead guys.
Anyway, still nominated. So.
Come on, say it. It was just nice to be nominated.
See, I don't know. I had to go all the way to LA, buy a tux, whatever.
Well, right on, man. Well, good to have you here. Man, I've been trying to get you on this for quite a while, and I finally nailed you down.
Last time I was on the phone with you, I was in Oklahoma City, as I recall. And same kind of, I was like, hey, I've been listening to your podcast, doing your thing, and I just, obviously a big fan of you and the people you work with, and just I don't know what to say, Bernie. Your story, I think it's better than mine.
Nah, no, we're not gonna get. This isn't about me or anything. But hey, man, right off the bat, do you come from a musical family?
My dad was a stage actor on a community level, right? So I saw him he did Cyrano de Bergerac, he did The Music Man, he did My Fair Lady. So the bug kind of hit me when I got to see him on stage, and he was the lead in all those plays. And when I was in the theater watching him perform, watching the crowd be controlled by what he was doing, that's when I got the bug. And it, I'm not going to say he's a great singer or anything, and neither am I, for that matter. Obviously, I keep losing to dead guys, but anyway, that's where I got it, and I just I couldn't get rid of it. I think once you get the bug, it's hard to undo that.
Yeah, was it a matter of like, you saw him, you wanted to be on stage? Did you want to be?
Yeah,
did you want to be?
It was the stage.
Yeah.
No, it was his singing more than anything. Just the I thought it was great because it takes a lot of bravado to get on stage and project to people you don't know, right? Yeah. To just strangers. And so it just, I don't know, there's a thing. You either have the thing or you don't have the thing. And I'll never forget when first time we were playing the Astrodome in Houston, 56,000 people. I think you were there, actually, Bernie. My dad was standing in the wings there, and what's it feel like, son, to go out there and sing your songs for 56,000 people? And I said, Dad, it's exactly as cool as you think it is. And that's when he told me, don't fuck it up. So, and I was like, I've never heard that man say a curse word in his life.
Right.
So it was a precious moment for me. And that's also the night that my wife told me she was pregnant with our first kid. So it was it was an interesting evening.
Yeah.
Big day. Big day.
What was more fulfilling, the Astrodome or hearing that you were about to be a dad?
Once she told me that, I don't remember the rest of the night. I Oh, she did. I do remember that she told me not to tell everybody, and that's the first thing I had said when I got on stage was, "My wife just told me she's pregnant." And then everything else is a blur.
That's a classic PG move. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't hold back. You know that. I just.
and I got to talk to you. Don't tell anybody. Don't worry.
Oh wait, you got it.
Yeah. Tell the entire Astrodome. Well, I'm not going to tell anybody now.
Yeah,
Tell
exactly.
anybody. Hey, who were you? When you started playing, you were in college, correct? When you started
That's
playing,
right. Yeah, yeah.
Who were your influences back then? And are they still kind of the guys you revert to these days?
Right. I hear you. Well, here's the story. I was a baseball player, and I wanted to more than anything in the world. I wanted to be a pro baseball player. I just loved playing baseball, and I broke my arm. This one right here into 17 pieces, and so baseball was over. But the only thing I could do with that cast on was put my hand over the top of a guitar, and that's when I learned how to play guitar. Was with a broken arm, and the guys that obviously, as a young guy, it's rock and roll, and it's the guys that and work with. Man, when we were kids, it truly my brother was a big influence on me, and his favorite band was Duran Duran, and so we it's so weird that you have done what you've done, but anyway, so he drove me around all the time. He took me to my first Duran Duran concert at the Six Flags in Arlington, and Screaming Girls, and it was during the Reflex and all that. And but yeah, U2, Rattle and Hum had come out, and those were, and I love the Doors, a huge Doors fan. But I would say that those three bands really is kind of where I got my start into loving rock and roll. But when I found Robert O'Keefe and Jerry Jeff Walker and Jimmy Buffett, I found my voice, so to speak. I found the songs that I wanted to write through those guys. And I mean, I was saying on stage last night, I just, what a thrill it is that I've gotten to know my heroes, right? That is just insane, that Jerry Jeff, God rest his soul, man. I spent the night at his house a million times, and he's just, it just was, it's a fairy tale. It really is.
Yeah. Has meeting you've had a great career, man. You still have a great career. Meeting your heroes, has it always paid off the way, or have you run into the part where they don't meet your heroes?
Man, my
name names, please.
Yeah, right. Okay. So actually, right here in Vegas, we were playing the Mandalay here in the hotel that we're staying in, and Kid Rock was in town, and we were downstairs just hanging out in the bowels of the arena, and Kid walks up to me and he goes, "Hey, you're Pat Green," and he started singing "Wave on Wave" to me, right? And I was like, "That's amazing," right? And so my wife had just happened to be in town that time, and Kid said, "Hey, come up to my room tonight after your show. We're having a little get together, a little party, and Uncle Cracker's gonna be there, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh my God." So I'm like, "Of course I got to go to the Kid Rock Uncle Cracker party. I mean, who doesn't want to go to that?" And so me and my wife are riding up the elevator, and I'm like, "Hey, honey, you might want to prepare yourself for what's about to happen," because and I mean, all I could see was hookers and blow in my mind, and I'm not kidding. We get into his hotel suite, and the only thing that there was no alcohol. It was beer only. You could have a beer. They were playing video games, and I mean, literally, they had the big screen TV in this huge suite, and they were playing like, whatever the thing is where you shoot stuff. And I don't know. It was the most it was the most interesting night. Just because I thought for sure that we were gonna, go down the hallways of debauchery and end up somewhere in
Yeah.
precinct jail. But very tame, very very lovely evening.
Yeah. You telling that story, it kind of just, everyone that thinks, hey, I bet it gets crazy on the tour bus. What's going on? They get on the tour bus and there's people eating sandwiches, checking. There's absolutely nothing going on the tour bus.
Since day one, Bernie, you know this very well. I don't allow girls on the tour bus.
Yeah.
Unless that's your wife or that has to be somebody that you're married to or related before a girl can get on my. The girls scare me. And my wife scares me more than
rightfully so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go for it.
I was gonna say, how do you feel like your music has evolved over the years?
Well, I think just about like anybody else, and the way that I relate it to, if I can, just use a common ground that pretty much everybody would understand. The Beatles did "I Want to Hold Your Hand," and that's a fairly basic song. And then you fast forward to Revolver and Sgt. Pepper's, and the later albums. You can really tell that their writing became more just developed. And I listened to, I was telling Bernie last night, we played 3 songs off our first album last night, and the crowd sang everywhere. And that's great fun. But I look at those songs, and I'm not going to say which ones, and I just think that they're a little trite. They're basic, And so the later songs, 3 Days, Wave on Wave, Carry On, My Little Heaven, Baby Doll, where it's, in my mind, much more developed as a songwriter. But I think everybody grows, right? I mean, I don't think people, write songs and then go, man, I could do worse than that. Let's write a worse song. So, that's what I think about. Songwriting is, Radney Foster, great, amazing songwriter. He told me once, all you ever have to do is tell the truth. And then we wrote 3 Days, and boom, off we go. I didn't have to worry about working at the gas station anymore.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, from what I hear,
which I did work at the gas station for a very long time.
Right? Yeah. From what I hear, your dad fired you, so you take this serious.
He did.
From the gas station.
Yes. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I worked at a gas station.
What?
I worked at a gas station when I was
nothing wrong with that.
1920.
Yeah, I was about to say it was. I think I was making like $4.60 an hour was minimum wage back then. But so part of my job later, once my dad started to trust me, was he had 26 gas stations, and I'd go around and collect cash, to collect money, to bring it back to the office and put it in the bank. And one morning, it was a Monday morning, and I came in dragging my tail a little bit because I'd been out singing all weekend. And I'd made, I don't know, it was like $20,000. And I'm counting up this money, and he walks into my office and he goes, "Is that my money or your money?" I said, "Dad, it's my money, dude. We had our first big weekend. It was our biggest weekend ever." And I was just like, I couldn't believe it, right? I just couldn't get my hands around how much the people would pay to see me do my thing. And he goes, "Well, bring that money in my office. Let's count it together." And so I was like, "All right." And we were counting it, and he goes, "Matt, if you can do that in one weekend, you can do it every weekend." He goes, "Get out of my office. I know you hate this job. You're out." And it was there. It was right there. It was a seminal moment, really, for my life.
Yeah. Well, when you were talking about the 3, playing the 3 songs, I know which 3 songs you played last night off your first album, and the crowd didn't sing them, and I was watching them. but you still play them, so you still obviously have some sort of a connection with them, like.
Yeah. Well, I think I respect the people that come to see us, and they do, you know, I, I'll put it this way. I love to go see the James Taylors of the world. You were obviously there when at Dickies Arena when I went to see Duran Duran, and there's a thing that you have with the crowd that you know that they want to hear certain things,
Yeah.
and it feels bad if you don't give them that, right? It feels like you're kind of somehow letting them down.
Yeah.
So I have to do that, but I also know this, Eagles, another great example, right? I mean, I'm 51 years old, and the first Eagles record I had was their greatest hits album, you know, so that's what I want to hear. And after the greatest hits album comes out, it's pretty rare that you go buy the new album, right? Right, because you don't really care. It's the greatest hits, and that's what I want to see. And so yeah, Darrell Royal, who was the head football coach for the Longhorns. I played golf with him every Tuesday before he passed many years ago when I was living in Austin. And his line was always, "You got to dance with the one that brought you." So yeah, you got to play those songs, man.
Yeah, that's a pretty honest answer, man. Around the time I mean, it happened for you pretty quick. Maybe not in your eyes, but it happened for you
Yeah,
pretty quick. And you led the charge for what later became, you know,
something.
something. You know,
Yeah,
how did it feel, man? Moving, as they say, out of your trunk, moving 250,000 records out of the trunk of your car
yeah.
before the labels came knocking and like, who is this cat? How did that feel when you were making a living before
Yeah,
we were independent, before the
yeah.
indie thing was a thing?
So we were doing a show in Washington D.C. My friend Kevin, he had a restaurant. It wasn't like a big venue or anything like that, but it was like it was a restaurant. And he had me come up to play, and uh, Carry On was self-produced record that I had just put out, and it was doing great. And like you said, like I mean, we were just selling a ton of stuff at the time. I don't know how to say it, but anyway, uh, Monty and Avery Lippman, who were the head of Universal Republic Records, came to see me at that show, literally this is in a restaurant, right? And uh, they told me I knew that there was some interest growing. I knew the energy was going the right way. Carry On had been the single had been in heavy rotation in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, Waco, Lubbock. I mean, all the big cities in Texas. And it was in the same rotation as George Strait. I mean, it was moving. And they get on and they're slicked up. They got the ties and they're looking sharp and they've got the little handkerchief in the pocket, record guys. And they said, "Well, we really want to have you on our label." And I said, "Well, just don't tell me that you're going to make me famous. I'm already famous." That was the cockiest thing I'd ever said in my life. I felt, like it's like one of those things that you wish you could just shove back in your mouth. It's like, oh, I'm already famous. Let's go sell some records. And yeah, I guess that was 2000. And 2002 took us a while to get a record, like to get the deal, blah blah blah. We put out 3 days, and then a year later we put out Wave on Wave. But I was telling Bernie last night, I'm staying at the Hotel Delano, which is part of the Mandalay. I was in this hotel room, and my son was like a week old, and we were playing here, and I'm sitting there holding my baby, looking out the window here, and I get the call from Monty, and he said, "Wave on Wave just went to number 2 on the charts in the first week. And I was just like, it's done. We're there. We don't have to do anything else for the rest of our lives. We've got that, and off we went. Yeah, it was a great day too.
Right on, man. Right on.
Awesome.
You brought up 3 days a couple of times. You've mentioned that.
Oh yeah, I love that song. Wrote that with Radney Foster. Yeah.
Yeah, people not familiar with the way country artists tour, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Can you explain, man, just to the people who are going to listen and like,
Yeah,
and the lyrics of 3 days?
We were in Cleveland on a Saturday night, and it was back in the the tour van, right? No bus, it's a van, and we drove from Cleveland through Nashville on the way back to Texas, and I was tired, and so I called Radney on the phone because we were just pals, and I said, Radney, I gotta sleep for a little while. I'm tired, and I can't get all the way to Texas tonight. And so I anyway, I walked in, and he has guitars everywhere. He's one of those guys that there's just guitars everywhere around his house. And I had this melody, and those 3 opening chords, they're pretty interesting open tuning kind of chords. And anyway, I said, well, I don't have any idea what this is, but I've got 3 days between now, and I got to get home and sleep with my wife for a day, and then I got to get back out there. So it was, anyway, so I went down. He has a basement. I went down and I slept on his basement couch for, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours, and I woke up and he had put his another guitar right next to the couch, and he had his RCA dog, those little dogs.
Yeah.
Right. If you sign with RCA, you get a little dog. And anyway, he had put that on the top of the guitar, and he wrote, now let's write 3 days and let's go make a hit. And yeah. So I woke up, what time in the afternoon it was, and we wrote that song in about 4.5 minutes. It was over before it started. It was, that song came out like it just landed on the table because I had 3 days to get, just to see my girl. And that, now that we've been married for almost 24 years, those 3 days is not quite, it's not
enough.
Not the same thing. I have this thing in my wallet that it's a fortune cookie, the middle of a fortune cookie. I have it laminated, and it says, distance lends enchantment to the view. So the further I am away from her, the prettier I look, So yeah. You get home for a week and she's like, when are you going back to work?
I can hear her saying that.
Oh yeah, she's tough, man.
Of all the tunes you wrote, man, is there just one? They say your songs are like your children, but do you have a favorite child?
Without a doubt. I've never minced words about that. My favorite song is "Carry On," and the reason why it was the first song that I heard me play that I wrote, that I thought, that's a good song.
Yeah,
that's a well crafted piece of work, and great melody. And my dad, he was hugely instrumental in my how I thought about music, right? Because he always said that melody first and the song will write itself, and I found that to be righteous. It's spot on.
I know, man. I love that song. I'll say this is just me talking shit for you, not you doing it. I did a short run with you. I was filling in for someone, but I was actually working for Jack at the time. When we ended, I was leaving you and then jumping back on with Jack, but we ended at the Terminal 5 show. And that it it was Casey and Eli Young and Jack, and they were all. It was all the new cats, and then you and Jack. Not that you were old cats or anything.
Oh, we are. It's all right. He'll tell you.
But I remember like they were getting the crowd crazy, and I was hanging out by the merch booth, and I heard these two girls talking like, man, like I'd hate to be Pat Green going on after this. And they were just talking, and I said, well, wait till it starts, and you opened with Carry On, and I remember you couldn't even hear the band. The crowd was so loud, and I was like, yeah, I'd hate to be him going on after all that too.
Yeah.
It's such a great song. It's such a barn burner, man, coming onto it,
Man, we did that. It was the first song that we played almost every night for I don't know how many years. We started every show like Willie starts with Whiskey River.
Yeah.
That's what he starts with. We started with Carry On, and I don't know when it changed, but I miss playing that song first because it really is, the energy is so powerful. So you just changed the set list just now. I'm playing Carry On first tonight.
Nice.
All right, man. All right, that's great. Dude, 98, you got to play the Willie Nelson's 4th of July picnic, which kind of started a relationship with that cat. What's that like? Because being a legend that he is,
yeah,
everybody, you ask most songwriters, most country songwriters, who's your guy? Willie's right there.
Yeah, he's always top fiver for everybody. I put him number one. Well, Waylon, I had a special spot for Waylon too, but so I got to sing at his funeral. That was a weird thing, but anyway, I bribed my way into that show. I wasn't on the billing, right? Hootie Locke, who was Willie's stage manager for 35 years, and married to Bonnie Raitt for what he claims is 28 minutes, best 28 minutes of his life. But I got married in Vegas and had it annulled about a half hour later. But anyway, Hootie owned a bar out in Texas where Willie's compound is. And basically it was just where all of Willie's friends hung out and drank. And I told Pootie that I would do 2 shows for free at his bar if he'd get me on Willie's 4th of July picnic. He goes, done. Of course, he didn't tell me that my 2 shows for free were first of all, I did them and I'm happy to do them. But he didn't tell me I was going to go on at like 10:45 in the morning for 7 minutes. Right. But okay, there's a caveat because we were playing, that was when George's Bar had just come out, our second record. And the crowd exploded. It was, I don't know, I want to say there was probably 8,000 or 9,000 people there already. And the crowd just went nuts. And because we had 7 minutes, exactly 7 minutes. We only played one song. We just played George's Bar for the entire time. And I'll never forget it. Willie had like his own entrance, right? So everybody else came up on one side of the stage, and Willie's bus had its own little entrance to the other side, so that he didn't have to mess with, whatever he didn't want to mess with. And I saw him come out, and he looked at me in the eyes, and he started clapping, and I was just like, game over. My life has just been made. And then, and then for years, like we were kind of the fallback de facto opener. Whenever anybody canceled on Willie, I was the guy they called first. So
I got to be part of a few of those opening.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah.
I remember one time we were playing at Nacogdoches with Willie and whatever their big barn is out there that it was the rodeo arena.
Yeah.
And I wasn't an experienced pot smoker, but I got thrown into the fire pretty quick. And so I went back on Pootie's bus, and his mother was there, Mama Lock, and she was drinking tequila straight out of the bottle. I mean, this chick she was tough as nails. And she has a joint in her mouth, and she's smoking and drinking Jose Cuervo. And she goes, "You want some yellow wine?" She called tequila yellow wine. So I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And then, of course, smoked the joint, and uh, Pootie comes in. I don't know, about an hour later, and I am, dude. I'm under the couch. I don't even know what happened to me. And he goes, "Pat, let's go back here. You crawl in my bunk for a minute." This was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and Murr was our tour manager at the time, and he comes in there, comes on our bus, and is like, "Where's Pat?" And they're like, "We hadn't seen him." And so he starts asking around, finds Pootie, and goes, "Oh, I got him in my bed. I totally forgot." So we're like 20 minutes late to stage, and Murr is shaking me to get out and go, be Pat Green.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding, dude. I've never been stoned before on stage. That was the only time in my life being completely high on stage. And I froze. It was like vapor lock. I could not get the first words out of my mouth. And Pootie's just standing on the to the right stage, and right side stage. She's just laughing, and then finally it happened, and I relaxed. But yeah, let that be a lesson to you kids out there. Don't be smoking weed and try to sing for people.
Taken.
Well, when I was doing some research, I found out that you are into painting and sculpting. Do you still do any of that?
Yeah, I do quite a bit. I'm more of a sculptor now. I tried to paint for a long time, but then I realized I wasn't very good at it. So, but I'm decent when it comes to sculpture. My brain it's the playground, and my imagination's out there. I mean,
No.
so it's a great outlet for me, and it gets me out of my house. I have a little studio about, you can walk from my house to the studio, and that's what I do. It's my morning. I take my dog and I walk to the studio and get out of my wife's hair, and sometimes I sculpt, sometimes I don't know, I fiddle, and then every now and then I'll land on something. I don't know, working on a pretty cool looking horse right now.
All right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You've got a gallery too, correct?
We had a gallery until COVID. And I don't know if y'all remember what COVID was like, but nobody was making any money, and art's expensive. It's really expensive, and it's expensive to make it. It's expensive to sell it, and it's hard to market it. So you really have to have all of those mechanisms in place. And when COVID came, my gallery, it was the same time as my gallery. So the rent was going to go up by a couple $1,000 a month, or get out. And we went from making a pile of money pre-COVID every year to nothing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I had to drastically reduce my spending at that point.
As we all did.
Yes. It was like, well, you know what? I never let the band suffer. I borrowed money to. I don't think they felt it like I did, but at least I tried.
Yeah. That's good to hear, man, because I know of a few artists out there that took care of their crews, and I know
Yeah, of course, right?
not,
so. But yeah, the crew and the band, that's the blood, right? You can have a heart all you want, but if there ain't no blood pumping through that thing, you ain't got shit.
True. 100% true. It's like that T-shirt. We came for the crew.
I mean, we're real happy to see you, buddy. And I love that too. That I, I, I've found that I gravitate towards the crew of my other band friends more than the band. And
Yeah.
I know that when you think about Brad Ewert and Gus and the guy and you when you were around, you think about the our famous buddies. They'd always want to hang with y'all. They didn't want to see me. They wanted to, what's the crew doing? So yeah, I get it. Yeah.
You've collaborated with a lot of cats, man. A lot of heavy hitters. Is there somebody that has eluded you in your career that you want to collaborate with?
I had an opportunity 2 weeks ago to write with Co Wetzel, and we started, and it just laid there, and I was so sad that because Co's, I mean, he's got a head of steam. He's really moving up in the world, right? I mean, he's selling 15,000-20,000 seats everywhere he goes, and I wanted to have a Co Wetzel co-write, and it didn't. It just we. I'm a pretty passive person, and he's a very aggressive person, and so but who else would I say? I don't know. I would have loved to have written with Dean Dillon. I never got that chance, but great, just a phenomenal songwriter. I've gotten to write a few times with Ray Wiley Hubbard, and yeah, I mean, my wish list is pretty small.
Yeah.
I got to write with Sheryl Crow. I got to do Chris Stapleton. Those things. Those were moments in my life where I was just like, well, first of all, with Stapleton, I couldn't believe how good he is of a songwriter he is. He's truly a master. And and I remember making small talk with him. I went to his house, and I was just talking, how you do. Just like, hey man, God, it's a great house. Look at that bar. This is great. He goes, Pat, you want to write a song, or you want to talk about my bar? And I was like, okay, up we go. And we did that song called Right Now, and Sheryl Crow sang on it. And I don't know. It's fun to me to be around pros.
Yeah.
People who are truly talented people. That's a fun part of our job.
And you still get excited when you're around those cats?
Oh, nervous is what I would say. Yeah, I'm petrified.
Well,
And I just don't think of myself in those same terms, right? I think of those people like that. I don't think about me like that. I mean,
yeah.
I've seen me naked. It's not that impressive.
Man, you guys. I mean, there were artists from Texas who were doing the singer-songwriting thing. You're not one to sit there and boast, but you guys started this thing. I want to say you practically created Texas Red Dirt. You were one of the first to have a band that just wasn't up there tears and beers. I mean, you guys really brought in, electric guitars. You almost sounded like a rock band, but and you kind of started it, and everybody followed the path and have made it their own. Co being the I think the keeper of the key right now.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, how does it make you feel that everyone took your blueprint and did a little bit tweaking, and they're calling it their own?
Oh, I just wish they would give me like 10%. No,
in those times, everyone, you did a cover, you did a Hank cover or a this, and you guys were doing Petty, and not to kiss your ass. I didn't kiss your ass last night. Your band does or did the best live version of Atlantic City I've ever heard another band do.
Oh, we should have played it last night.
I
love that song too. Here's Bernie. What happened was, I was lucky. I was in the lineup, so to speak, if you want to go with baseball. I was in the lineup, and I just happened to be hitting fourth, and the guy threw me a fucking meatball. and I took it over the right. And I'm not kidding. Okay, so here's the way I think about it: is that Garth Brooks had made country music into a completely different thing. It went from Merle Haggard and Willie and Waylon to this bombastic, crazy looking shirts, ridiculous looking cowboy hat, and breaking guitars. And it was so big. It was the only time in music history that there were more country radio stations than rock and roll radio stations. And how do you argue with that, right? I mean, country music was dominant during Garth Brooks, but then there was it became like there's a little backlash, and it started pushing against him, especially when he did the Chris Gaines thing with the bad haircut, the contact lens that changes eye color. Once that kind of happened, country music started to come back, right? Then that's when rock and roll came, obviously pop country came, but we were very organic. And I looked into some phenomenal musicians. Michael Terabay, obviously, my daughter's name is Rainey Michael for a reason. But he's, don't get me wrong, he's totally fucking crazy. But anyway, Michael Terabay was my first bass player. And he was my bass player for 15 years, and then I'm playing like a little trio gig in College Station during the van days. And this kid walks up to me, and he's got a blue violin. And he goes, "My name's Brendan Anthony, and you need me in your band." And I was like, "Man, that's a cocky little dude, right?" And so I gave him a couple CDs, and I said, "I'm playing here tomorrow night again, same place, College Station. You come and let's see what happens." He was in my band till I was 40.
Oh wow!
And he was in a band called Luck of the Draw, in College Station. They were just a cover band, and play all the George Strait you want all night long. And he had two friends in that band, Brett Danaher and Justin Pollard, who also were in the band for 20 something years. Yeah. So I don't know how else to put it, but I think if there's such a thing as Stardust, I don't know what happened, but I got as much as I could get on me, and I don't know. I never looked back. Once my dad said, "You're out," I don't know. I don't want to do anything else.
Yeah. Or like me, you can't do anything else.
True.
How'd you
Let's
feel?
talk about you. Let's talk about you for a second.
No.
You too.
How did you?
Come on, you're living in Vegas. Life of Riley.
How did you?
Duran and all there. God knows what kind of California women they got hanging on them.
Oh man. Then how did you feel a few years back when all your peers and even I made a joke one time when your tribute album came out. I was like, it's got all these great artists and Jack Ingram doing Pat Green songs. How did you feel when everyone came together, man, and did that? And I love Jack, by the way.
First of all, I didn't know they were doing. I didn't know they were doing it. It was a surprise.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. And my management put it together and didn't tell me. Eventually I kind of got wind of it.
Yeah.
But I just told I remember telling management once I found out that they were doing it, I said, "God damn it, you just made me. I have to do 11 records now for all those other guys." So but yeah, it was a neat thing to have my friends singing my songs. That was great.
And not to get anybody pissed off. Is there any one particular version on that album that you listen to and are like, oh, that's their song now?
I thought Jack Ingram's version of Wave on Wave was very much truer to the way that I wrote it.
Okay.
Right. I wrote that song as a ballad, as a very dirgy kind of much slower tempo, everything. But yeah, Jack's version of that song is really close to how I wrote it. We were in the studio in Nashville, and that's when I was signed to RCA Records. And Tony, God dang, what's Tony's last name? Anyway, producer on that for that one track brought me in the other room with Doug Morris, who was the head of the record label, and they played me In the Living Years. By what's the band? Mike and the Mechanics. It brought me in the other, like the B studio, just to play me that, and they're like, "This is the tempo, and oh, by the way, we're stealing that intro lick." And I'm like, "My song, I'll be goddamned if we're going to do that. I'll be telling you what we're doing." And Jimmy Perkins was our manager at the time, and he took me outside and he goes, "Pat, you're going to need to do what they tell you to here." and then so we went in, we recorded Wave on Wave, completely different, without Don Gaiman, who was the producer on the entire record, other than that one song. And yeah, rest is history, man. I thank God I didn't hold to my guns, because
Fight back hard.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that kind of that song. I mean, it went to, I don't know, it was inside the top 3 for like 5 weeks, and then it was on the inside the top 10 on the pop charts forever. I've been stupid about a lot of things, but that was one of the better moments.
Yeah.
Listen to those guys telling me what to do.
And while we're on the subject of Wave on Wave, man, like, you've got a lot of great tracks. Baby Doll, 3 Days. My favorite is, Don't Break My Heart Again.
Oh, I love that song.
Not many artists have that fucking life, that timeless song, and you've got one.
Yeah.
How does that feel, man? That you've got a tune that is it gives you that feeling from the first day you heard it to even now. I was listening to it earlier, and I was like, man, this song gets you right in the field.
It was lucky. It was really lucky. I don't know. I was we were, I don't know if you were on the road with us at that time or not. But the bus broke down in a Birmingham Walmart parking, and we were waiting on a part to come. It's one of those, AAA kind of deals where they had to bring in a belt or something because everything was broken. And I was in the back of the bus, and I wrote the chorus in like just a minute. I was just like, "Can't find my way all the way." And I had it. I knew it was a good chorus. I didn't really have a good melody for it yet, but it was, I don't know, it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I walked up to the front of the bus to see if anybody was awake, because I wanted to get it out. And David Newhouser, our piano player, and Justin Pollard were just sitting there having a drink. And I go, "Guys, I just wrote the chorus for our first number one, and I knew it." And I said, "We need some verses, and I need some melody." And David Newhouser, truly gifted guitar player as well as piano, but I always think it's easier to write with piano players because they have a better sense. But anyway, so yeah, he whipped out the melody, and once again, that one, 3 Days, Carry On, Don't Break My Heart Again, all those songs were written within an hour. That's the magic of a great song, is that it falls out of you, onto the table, and you're like, "What do I do with all this shit?"
I think if you think about it too much, you're just gonna overthink it.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, just roll with it. Maybe tweak the lyrics here and there. and I'm not a songwriter. I'm just telling you as a fan.
Her name is
I,
Rio.
I
and
listen.
she
I
dances
listen.
on the sand.
I listen to music and songs, and I criticize them from my car of what you could have done better.
Yes,
This would have been a hit. They'd have listened to me.
I do a lot of criticizing of other people's music, by the way, but I'm not going to tell it to anybody when I'm, you know, I just I'm with you, Bernie, man. I listen to the things I like to listen to are the Guy Clarks and the Ray Wiley Hubbards and Jeff Walker, and when I want to be in a good mood, it's Jimmy Buffett, and when it's, you know what I mean, it's like, but a lot of the music, but I'm old now, and so the music that is comes out now, I just don't have a connection to it. It's a weird thing, and I go back and listen to the songs that I grew up on that I love, that I really love, right? Guys that you work with. And I'm just like, some of these songs are kind of stupid. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, there's some Doors songs where I'm like, man, that guy was stoned when he wrote that.
Yeah.
So,
Is there currently a cat that you dig right now that's hot or that you think is
yeah. Yeah.
out of the globe?
I think Chris Stapleton is unequivocally the best artist out there right now,
Yeah.
as far as country music goes.
Yeah.
He's got a skill level that very, very few people have.
Yeah. It's with that guy because, his, that the people who've known about Chris Stapleton have known how good a songwriter he is, how good a singer he is. And, that album had only sold about 100,000 copies before he did that performance on the Grammys with Timberlake. And then the next week it sold 200,000 and then so on and so on. But it needed something like that for the world to really see what it was rather than some flash in the pan guy. He had been,
No doubt. Bernie, man, we when we wrote that song Right Now, I mean, I think I have a pretty good range. My voice is pretty strong. It's like, it's not right now. I'm kind of tired, but
Sing right now.
well, tell you what, play it later in the podcast.
We put you on the spot, dude.
But
I'm teasing.
when we were writing that song together, now, I was in good form. My voice was strong that day. And it was the absolute top of my ability to get to. Like and he was just messing around. I mean, he wasn't even trying. Right. Like, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can sing that every night. That's so far up there. And yeah, so that I love it when people push me. There's a guy named Greg Ladani who produced our 3 Days record, and he, God rest his soul too, man. Everybody I know is dying, but anyway, he was the first guy that said you can do better in the studio, because you can do better than that. You can let's raise the key up a couple more notches and then really sing it.
Yeah.
And that was during 3 days. And that was my bucket list kind of thing. The producer, the record label guy came to me and said, who do you want to produce this record? And I said, whoever made Jackson Brown's Running on Empty, I want that guy. And it was Greg Ladani, and they went and got him. And that's how 3 Days was born.
Very cool.
Go on.
When it comes to creating new music, what do you do to spark your creativity?
I have to get away. I have to go by myself for about a week. It usually takes me about a week to kind of get my thoughts together, and then I start picking people who I want to write. Like, here's a group of thoughts that I like a lot, and here's the person I want to write that with. But I love collaboration. I very rarely write songs by myself. I've written a few, and some of them are pretty good, but but most of the time I need to have a sounding board. Crazy, I wrote by myself, which I think wasn't that hard of a song to write because it was about my wife, and I saw her in her cotton panties, and the light came on. So, but but
Uh,
yeah, very very few songs that I have that are wrote by myself.
Yeah. What advice would you give, man? Somebody who's up and comes to you and says, "Listen, I'm a singer songwriter. What advice can you give me?"
Just uh, take more pictures, make the memories, because those are, at the end of the day, the memories are the things that keep your soul afloat, if you will. Last night, hanging out with you and the band, it was that was like the first time in a long time that the entire band just stayed in the room,
Yeah.
just talking and sharing our experience of life on the road and being in a band, and it takes a person like you to make that magic happen. So I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to toot your horn. I'm just saying, like, it's moments like that where you go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, you remember that? Oh, I remember that. And then of course, given Brad's our tour manager now, just for those out there. And I'm pretty sure Bernie was making a move on him to go move to Vegas with him and live the life of Riley with you too. But I don't know, man. The stories were just last night was we're in Vegas in an awesome hotel, and we're hanging out in a green room where it's like it's fluorescent lights. It's not, you know, it was, it wasn't the thing.
Sorry, I ate
Yeah.
all the guys' food last night too.
No, it's great. I took one of those. Took one of those sandwiches up to my room last night. I ate one too.
Man, I'll say this before because I'm gonna forget to say it. I told you last night, but I want this on record, and I've told everybody. Anytime people ask me about what I do, I always give you credit. You're the guy that gave me my start. You fucking changed my life, man. Without you, I'd still be doing what I was doing, which was nothing with my life. And you took me into your family, your your family and your road family. And
I was telling Corey this morning that last night and that what I'm doing today, and I could hear her voice, just go boom boom, you know,
that was my nickname, Lisa. I'm sure I've told you.
yeah.
boom boom, and yeah, well, you were part of our family for sure. You're one in a million, man. You really I always love it when I see the people that I care about um accelerate and get out over their skis and take their own lives to another place, right? I mean, I couldn't, we're not, I don't have the financial ability to do what the guys that you work with do. I just don't have that, right? My tickets are $25. So, it's like, I don't have that ability. But I love to see, like, you and Jeff Griffin. Jeff Griffin's a great example.
Yeah,
I mean, the Bean, man. Okay, so he was our tour manager. The only reason why he became our tour manager is because I needed somebody to sell the T-shirts, right? And then that's how he became the tour manager. Is that he was like, "Hey, man, I'll call the guy, make sure all this shit set up, and blah 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 blah." I mean, you know, and he was. I have to say it. He was the worst tour manager of all time for 15 years. But I loved him. I loved that guy. He was my roommate right after college. I mean, we lived together, for crying out loud. Him and his girlfriend, it was like Three's Company, but the other way. It was awful. And and so when I had to let him go because it was just we weren't able to coexist on a professional level. Fast forward a couple years, he's tour managing Hardy, he's tour managing Florida Georgia Line. His life, just like yours, Bernie, it happened. It happened right in front of us, and we got to see it. So, yeah, good on you, man. Good on you.
Well, like I said, you changed my life, man. You did. I've told Lisa that on countless occasions.
He does. He says it all the time. Why are you telling me again? You've already said this.
Is there a financial responsibility for him to say that? Yeah, Bernie, I didn't know what a guitar tech was until you came around. How about that? I'm serious. I tuned my own guitars during those years. Yeah. And then you come along and I'm like, what the fuck? I don't have to do this. This is amazing. So
I did get a guitar change in last night at the show too.
I saw that. Yeah, dude, that was that made me laugh. So that was an ear to ear grin. Plus the fact that you were handling two guitars at once. Yeah, you know what? I listened to a podcast of yours years ago when you were talking about handling the bass for John, and the specifics of handling him. Right? Do you remember this podcast that I'm talking about?
I don't.
I do. That was I don't know. It was a happy thing for me to listen to, and how I don't know. I'm not a very needy person, Like the guitar only has to be almost in tune, and I'm fine. Because okay. Remember Christian Seeger?
I do.
Okay, so great Christian Seeger story. So do you remember when I cut my fingers off?
I don't, man.
I cut these two fingers off right here. They put them back on. I can't feel them, but they work. So anyway, we're playing a show at Madison Square Garden, and it was kind of a hectic day, but we're doing the sound check, and the place is empty. So I mean, you could hear everything. There was no crowd. Anyway, we were opening for Chesney that night, Kenny Chesney that night. And so I was listening to the sound check, and I was like, dude, somebody's guitar is terrible. And I'm not kidding, it's a true story. And so this is just after I got in the cast off and I could start to play again. But my problem is because I can't feel my fingers, I don't know if I've missed the fret. Yeah. Right? I don't know if I'm one fret off or not. I have to look at it to play it. And anyway, I was like, so I had a remote guitar. I didn't, so I wasn't tethered to a cord. And I went out to front of house with Christian and I said, hey dude, somebody is nervous about first time to play Madison Square Garden, and I think it's Brett. You're gonna have to turn him down tonight. And he goes, no, boss, it's you. and I'm like, really? It's my guitar? He goes, yeah, you're playing bad. And I'm like, well, okay. So we'll just turn my guitar down tonight and then let me kind of calm down. And he goes, Pat, we've been turning your guitar down way before you cut your fingers off. So anyway, yeah, that's my experience about playing guitar in public. Yeah. Very rarely do they I can play Galley Winter, Crazy, and the small handful of songs.
Yeah,
that they allow my guitar to be exposed.
They bring it into the mix.
Yes, exactly. Very small number. There's a truth out there. So,
one story we didn't tell last night. I'll tell it real quick. It's a real quick story. I remember we were doing some outdoor show. You came out, and it was early in the show. You came out, guns a-blazing, and then you said, I'm thirsty. Somebody give me a beer. And beer cans came flying to the stage. One catches you right in the fucking eye.
It was in Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah. But I never heard you say, hey, somebody throw me a beer. Somebody throw me a beer. And beer cans just came from every angle. Everyone's like hovering up.
I'm kidding, Brett. And I'll never forget Brett Danaher's face that day. yeah, we were all kind of just ducking.
Yeah.
And this one guy from like 30 rows deep threw an unopened Miller Lite. And I looked over at Brett, and his eyes went like fish bowls, like he saw it. And the top of the can hit me in the head and exploded and cut me like a fillet knife. And I mean, it's like a wrestler, right? Like WWE, whatever. If you cut your head, it bleeds insane, and it's bright because it's oxygenated blood. It's just this thing. I walked off stage. It was during Wave on Wave, and yes, we were guns a-blazing. It was during a NASCAR event, as far as I remember. But yeah, they put me to the ambulance and sewed me back together. And I'll never forget, the promoter came up and was like, "Are you going to sue us?" I was like, "No, but I'm not going back up there." Your show's over, buddy. So, anyway, yeah, I remember that night too.
Well, speaking of wrestling, man, you're a big dude.
We met Bootsy Collins that night.
Yeah.
Bootsy
Collins and Hillary Duff.
Yes. What a weird combination. What a strange thing.
Yeah.
Never know.
Yeah. Bootsy was
things that happen only with Bernie.
Yeah. Speaking of wrestling, man, you're a big dude. And me, I have some type of experience or history of wrestling with you, but who would win, Pat Green or The Undertaker?
Undertaker would kill me. So what Bernie's not telling you is that I went through a phase. I don't know what it was. I was just young and idiot, but I had this thing called the Cobra Strike, and this was my little, Cobra Strike, and Bernie was always the target of the Cobra Strike. Like, we'd just be sitting there on the bus, just being gentle and nice, and then I would pounce on him and like throw him to the ground and give him the what for, give him the noogie and all this stuff. And I don't know why he never sued me for that.
Well, no, it got to be a regular thing where I was expecting it, and then we turned into a wrestling match in the front lounge of a bus.
Yeah.
There's 8 other people there watching you, going, "What the hell is going on?"
And I mean, I'm 6'3" and I weigh 250 pounds. It's pretty hard to. Once I get my momentum, it's hard to stop.
I anticipated and hide. So when you grab me out of my
then
bunk,
I crawl in your bunk with you.
I jump out of the top bunk on top of you. Yeah, it became like that's how we entertained ourselves.
Yeah,
it's boring, but it was our life, right?
It's not boring. Bernie.
Good memories.
The greatest days of our lives.
A good memory.
Just great.
Man, Lisa and I really appreciate you taking the time. I know that I told her a while back, like, Pat'll do it. Pat's gonna do this, and and I kept bothering you, and so we really appreciate you doing this. So
I mean, I had to take care of some stuff with my pop. Sorry, I was an hour late, but
no, that's fine, man. I just I love you, dude. It was great seeing you guys last night. I don't even leave my room on days off. So for me to go out and stay out past 8:30,
No. I got it.
I woke up this morning. I was like, I don't even drink, and I feel like a truck hit me. We did
a show the other night in at the WinStar Casino in Oklahoma, biggest casino in the United States, by the way, bigger than anything in Vegas. It's enormous, and we were doing a package show with Travis Tritt, and we had a 40-minute set, and we started at 7:30. And casinos, as you know, pay a lot. They look, Yeah. Anyway,
No.
So I was done. I was done at 8:30. I was in my car driving back to Texas at 8:30. I was home by 9:30, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. And the rest of the band, everybody was sitting there talking. I was like, "Tell Travis Tritt, we'll do that anytime he wants. But if you want, we'd really like to start at like 6:30 or 7."
Yeah.
Yeah. So Yeah, I'm with you, Bern, man. I don't stay up late anymore.
It was a lot of fun last night, man. It's definitely something I needed, and round two tonight.
I know. I'm not kidding. My voice is tired. I shouldn't have
I
stayed
think
up.
everyone's going home early tonight. So
Yeah, I have a feeling it's a short set tonight too. It's only an hour, so we're all very thankful. It's short and it's early, so yeah, we're our yeah. We've been on the road for a bit, so 4 shows in a row.
all right.
I'm looking forward to getting to my house.
Yeah. Well, our podcast it's called "Is Breakfast Included?" And if you were having breakfast with me and Lisa right now, what would you have?
It's a no-brainer: eggs Benedict and blueberry pancakes, crispy fried bacon,
Sweet and savory, right?
easy.
Coffee, juice, anything?
I'm not. You know what? I don't like coffee. I drink iced tea when I want caffeine. Iced tea.
Okay.
Straight up from
All
Texas.
right.
What's that?
Straight up from Texas.
I mean, I don't know. I guess that's one more thing for you. Be true to who you are.
Right.
That's another thing I would tell some kid coming up right now. Just be yourself.
Pat,
Good advice.
good talking to you, man.
Thank you
I love
so
you.
much.
Pieces, Bernie. At least it's lovely to talk to you too. But it's very rare that I get to have fun with old friends. So I'm glad.
All right, buddy. Go have a good day. Get some rest for tonight. Right on, everyone. Pat Green. I was going to say what I normally say or what the fans normally say, but this is a family show and I can't use the F word. A lot of fun, right? Pat's a great guy. Like I said, man, he gave me a chance and it was great. We appreciate him taking time out of his busy day to do this for us. If you want to find out more about Pat, his dates, his merch, anything he's got going on, check out patgreen.com. He's also got a foundation, a charity foundation called the Pat Green Foundation. We really didn't talk about that, but you should check that out, man. They're doing some good things too. While you're online, go to isbreakfast.com. You can link to our YouTube channel. You can like, comment, and subscribe to that. Check out our shop, buy a shirt. I think it's not too late to get it for Christmas, or it might be too late when you hear this. By the time you hear this. Yeah. So give them a late Christmas present. Give them a New Year's present. How about that? All right, guys, I am done. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks to Pat. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next